Now, it's been a busy couple of weeks at Chelsea. Some would say events that have got them feeling quite blue. On the February 1st, they lost 5-1 at Man City, their worst WSL loss since 2018. Then 5 days later, Sonia Bompastor got an extension through the 2030 season with the club. Only 1 day later, Catarina Macario was left off the Women's Champions League squad for the knockout phase and also for the rest of their campaign. And on February 9th, the head of women's football, Paul Green, left the club after 13 years. Let's start off by talking about a long list of events. Some good, some not so good.
I feel like things are burning down over there. No?
It's bad.
When you put it like that,
yeah,
for sure.
You
I obviously knew all this stuff, but then to see the dates, I'm like...
Only happened within a span of 8 days, all of that stuff.
A lot of action.
Sorry, I'm just a little shell-shocked right now.
So
Are you feeling blue?
Yeah, I am feeling blue. I didn't like that.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Let's talk about their results. They lost against Man City 5-1. They lost against Arsenal, and also bear in mind Arsenal have got a game in hand, and if they were to win that, they would jump above Chelsea. Are we getting worried about Chelsea now? Not
Definitely
Arsenal.
not.
We're not worried about Arsenal.
Yeah, it's not even Chelsea now. It's not even Chelsea. It's just the conversation's just flowing. I know.
Are we worried about them now? It's starting to not look too good.
I'll be honest. You are.
No, are you?
I'm still not overly worried about Chelsea. I think the depth that they've still shown. I think the biggest alarm bell was the back-to-back losses. That hadn't happened in years for Chelsea. The big loss against Man City has happened because Man City have everybody fit. They're absolutely flying in the WSL. They don't have Champions League to play in, so they don't have all of the extra games like Chelsea and Arsenal do to manage those when it comes to performances. I think Bompastor came out with some comments that were a bit difficult around her own confidence and recruitment. I think when your manager comes out and says that, bit of alarm bell as well. But I think the win against Spurs was huge for them, just to get back to winning ways. Most recently, 2-0 against Spurs in the WSL. So with the squad they have, injuries are a big part of it. I know we'll talk about injuries in a second, but there are a lot. And regardless of how many people you have in your roster, that amount of injuries is huge that they've had. So I wasn't overly worried. I'm still not. And we're going to look at the injury list because the biggest one for me I'm looking at is Lucy Bronze. Mm-hmm. When you're talking about leaders and character, how often would we speak about Kim Little being injured and Leah
Exactly.
Williamson? It's the same with these guys. You look at them, half of them are starters.
8 players.
Bronze, Charles, Millie Bright.
But the captain.
Beaver Jones was a top goal scorer in the start of the WSL.
Mm-hmm.
So just top people injured. I think more has to look at the medical side for me rather than the management in the back room.
Yeah, all of these players would impact being injured for a club. Not just one of them, all of them.
Yeah.
8 players is a huge loss.
It is, and I mean Chelsea's a deep team, but this is a very long injury list. And Jen, what you said is, we can potentially for the losses look at the manager, at Sonia Bompastor. But to have an injury list this long mid-season, to me is screaming, what is the management of players? What is the medical protocol? How are we taking care of players? Because they have a very heavy schedule. They play a lot of games, and I think it's catching up to them. And clearly there has to be some sort of righting of the ship when it comes to managing load, because it looks like a lot of these potentially could be soft tissue injuries. So as a player, that was something that I was always very cognizant of how are we managing load? Because you can train. You need to train, but it matters on the weekend. The results, right? Like you need to be healthy for the weekend.
This? They have the the FA Cup. They have the.
But that's the issue. I feel like they've like dug themselves into this hole.
And the list has to be so long for us to even be talking about it, because for the first half of the season, all we talked about was how deep Chelsea is.
Right.
But this goes to show, though, how grateful they must be to not be in this knockout.
Right.
And they finished top 4 to not have to manage games in abundance right now. I think the biggest thing that stands out was the Man City loss. I'll talk about it again because you guys touched about mentality in Real Madrid and how they showed weaknesses. Their body language was miles off in that game, and I thought that was another talking point when it came to Bompastor and management and body language. But she came out, backed her players, but injuries and management, I think there was a long list of problems that came out. But I will say, glad they finished top 4 so they don't have to be playing games right now.
And Aaron Cuthbert, if you want to still feel optimistic about this Chelsea team.
Give me something. Give me something.
Listen to her interview after they beat Tottenham.
Did you understand it, though?
I understood about 3/4 of it.
Did you have closed captioning?
I had my translator here. But she mentions not that many players have been in this situation to have lost a game, lost back-to-back games. They had an undefeated season. They won a domestic treble. Losing to Arsenal, weren't able to regroup, lose by even more against Man City. But then she said the most important people here, there was so much noise that most of these players had never experienced before. They listened to each other, their teammates, and the staff. Those were the most important opinions to them, and then they were able to come back. I also want to say, bright spot, Alyssa Thompson, 8 goals in all competitions. She did score in that 5-1 loss. She scored again against Tottenham. So there are things for us who have them going all the way to still be holding on to.
We need some bright spots.
Something that I'm curious what you think about, Cal. You know, we know how much intention goes into press releases, re-signing a player, contract extension, a player announcement, staff movement. The club announces the extension of Sonia Bompastor's contract after the back-to-back losses.
Right.
They don't wait until the weekend.
No.
What does that show?
I think that shows that they're, regardless of results, they're sticking with Bompastor and they're backing her, which is interesting. Fans
were shocked.
Yeah, is the club showing you have our support? We're giving you the time, even though I'm kind of like, you have a group of players that are good enough that I don't think you need a lot of time. But then to me, it goes to the managing piece of the players. It's not necessarily maybe on the field, but it is can you manage all of these personalities and I don't want to say egos, but egos. That's what it comes down to when you have such a deep squad.
Ali, would you say fans were shocked to have seen that?
They were very shocked to see the announcement after the back-to-back losses.
Well, yeah, you would think that you're like, oh, Chelsea's just put out a really big press release, and you go and click on it, and you think it's maybe the manager's been sacked, but it was the manager's been. Yeah.
And again, this is the first time Chelsea fans have had something to complain about in a long time. But they were out in droves.
I get it.
Something that has me shocked is another thing. Catarina Macario being left off of.
We need to unpack that.
So for everyone listening, because I didn't even know this going into Champions League, is after the transfer window closes for the WSL or Europe, going into, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have to register your squad for the rest of Champions League. Yeah. Catarina Macario is not on the list for Chelsea.
And that means she can't play in the Champions League the rest of their campaign. Yeah.
Correct. So I'm sitting here saying, why? Unless she signs, I wake up tomorrow and she has signed with an NWSL club, I do not understand the reasoning behind that.
That has to be it. For me, in my experience, I've been in that situation, was at Montpellier, put in a transfer request, not in the squad since that. So I don't know if that's from playing in France and you have Sonia Bompastor, a French manager, that's what she's used to. Has there been a fallout? It's all speculation, but do I think there is a move on the horizon? Absolutely.
Because
there's no other reason
for sure. Even if there is a move on the horizon, unless that ink is already dried, unless that contract has been signed.
Maybe there is, though.
I think it's a terrible decision by Chelsea to not even just put her on the squad.
But then you
for the chance that it could fall through.
Chelsea's point of view, if she were to go, they can't replace a player in her position if they were to have left her on that squad.
So if they do sell her and bring someone in, they can't have taken that place. Yeah.
I don't even think.
Well, there are rumors that she's been linked to various clubs, Bay FC being one of them. I wish she was rumored to be linked to Angel City, but any club will be really, especially after seeing this, if the ink isn't dry, really thinking, can we get a player of this caliber to our team?
I've seen it when the ink isn't even dry, though. I have. But sometimes if there's been a fallout, if there's been anything, it can happen.
No, for sure.
Players can be left out, regardless of quality.
But I think if that's the case, if the ink isn't dry and Chelsea left her off the squad, even for bad blood or whatever, it's a bad decision by Chelsea.
It's a big risk looking at that injury list.